Hi again, everyone. Okay, so we're going to go through the answers of the 5.13. No, we've done that. Okay. So as discussed, what I required you to do is to put the main ideas that associate with these questions and then listen through and answer these questions. Okay. So we'll start off with the first one. What is the purpose of the Endangered Animal Reintroduction Project? And the answer that you should have done is, we'll listen to the track.
Academic English 1, Listening and Speaking Skills. Unit 5, Track 11. Now, listen to the lecture in an ecology class.
Students, we have a special guest speaker in our class today. His name is Dr. Patrick Harris, and he is a renowned zoologist from our very own City Park Zoo. He has written a number of award-winning books about endangered animal species. Let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Harris.
Thank you, Miss Simmons, for the introduction. Hello, students. It is a pleasure for me to be here. Your teacher invited me to give a talk today about some of the recent projects we are doing at the City Park Zoo. One conservation project that my colleagues and I have been working on is called Endangered Animal Reintroduction.
Okay, so you're going to hear the answer of the first question.
Simply put, we raise endangered animals at the zoo and then release them into the wild in order to increase their population size and prevent them from becoming extinct.
So it says the purpose, not what they're doing, but the purpose. And the purpose was, as he just said, to increase the population size of those endangered animals and prevent them from becoming extinct. So to increase the population size and prevent them from becoming extinct. The next question that you have is, what percentage of animals die in the first year that they are reintroduced in the wild? Let's think about what the main idea would be. Is it the changes that should be made? Is it introduction? Is it causes or example of success? It would actually be difficulties. So for the main idea here, you should have written difficulties. The next question, the lecturer gives 4 reasons animals not surviving when they are reintroduced. Again, in terms of main idea, this should fall under difficulties because it's the problems that we're looking at. The next question is, look at the threats to endangered animals. How many did the lecturer mention? What are the threats? This would fall into the main idea of causes. Next, we have, why did the grey wolf become extinct in the Yellowstone National Park in 1926? That would be example of success, because we're saying that they became extinct, but we were able to reintroduce them. What year were they reintroduced? Again, this would fall into example of success. How many are being tried in the City Park Zoo? This would fall into future. So things that we're doing in the future. And finally, what is the reason 50% of reintroduced animals die? And this would fall also into future. Okay. So we're going to continue to listen and see if we can answer the rest of these questions one at a time.
I must be honest that this task is easier said than done. There are many difficulties that scientists face when releasing animals back into their natural habitat. The greatest problem is that the majority of reintroduced species do not survive in their natural environment after being raised in the zoo. In fact, over 70% of captive animals die in the first year they are in the wild.
Okay, so we would have been able to hear the percentage of animals, the percentage. If we're listening out for a percentage, we know that we're listening for a number. Hopefully you got the answer, which is over 70%, over 70%.
There are 4 main reasons for this.
So here we have another signposting phrase. He says there are 4 reasons. So we're ready to hear those 4 reasons. 1, 2, 3, 4. See if you can get all of them.
One is that animals born in zoos do not usually have the natural behaviors they need to succeed in the wild. For instance, they lack hunting skills and have trouble feeding themselves, which leads to malnutrition and starvation. Secondly, they lack fear towards humans because they are accustomed to zookeepers who raise them. Thirdly, they do not fully develop the instinct to flee from predators because there are no predators at the zoo. And lastly, they do not have opportunity to form natural social groups with their species.
Okay, so you should have heard all 4 just then. We'll go back and just re-listen to make sure that you got the correct answer.
Secondly, they lack fear towards humans because they have the natural behaviors they need to succeed in the wild. For instance, they lack hunting skills and have trouble feeding themselves.
So the first one is they lack hunting skills, so they can't feed themselves. If they can't feed themselves, they'll die probably of starvation or malnutrition.
Which leads to malnutrition and starvation. Secondly, they lack fear towards humans because they are accustomed to zookeepers who raise them.
So the second one is they lack fear toward humans. Now, if they're out in the wild, for instance, if they're in South Africa, a lot of animals, elephants, lions, etc., get poached or killed by hunters. These animals don't realize that the humans maybe are a predator, and so they might approach them and then unfortunately get killed. Okay, so number 2 is that they do not fear humans.
Thirdly, they do not fully develop the instinct to flee from predators because there are no predators at the zoo.
So the third one is that they don't run from predators or even know what are predators because they were raised in a zoo where they were always safe. So if you've got a monkey, you might decide to make friends with a lion, probably won't work out very well. Okay.
And lastly, they do not have opportunity to form natural social groups with their species.
So they're not used to forming social groups with their species. So because they've been usually or often raised by themselves, they're not aware of the hierarchy or how to interact with other animals of their same type.
As such, they are at a major disadvantage of living in isolation and being hunted. In addition, reintroducing animals into the wild does not directly address the root cause for why they have become endangered in the first place. As we all know, one of the greatest threats is human activities that result in habitat destruction, such as urban development and pollution. No amount of reintroduced animals will prevent extinction as long as these environmental issues continue to destroy our ecosystems. However, this does not mean that...
So you should have listened to what the threats endangered. How many of these does he mention? Human activities, habitat destruction, urban development, pollution, or environmental issues. Let's listen again.
Activities that result in habitat destruction, social groups with their species. As such, they are at a major disadvantage of living in isolation and being hunted. In addition, reintroducing animals into the wild does not directly address the root cause for why they have become endangered in the first place.
So we've heard environmental issues destroying ecosystems.
As we all know, one of the greatest threats is human activities that
So now they've said human activities, so A and E.
Result in habitat destruction.
And B, he just said habitat destruction.
Such as urban development and pollution.
And also mentioned urban development and pollution. So in fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he mentioned all of them. So you should have circled all of these. Okay, so why did the grey wolf become extinct in Yellowstone Park in 1926?
No amount of reintroduced animals will prevent extinction as long as these environmental issues continue to destroy our ecosystems. However, this does not mean that we should completely abandon endangered animal reintroduction projects. They still remain one of our greatest tools for combating extinction. The gray wolf of Yellowstone National Park
Okay, so he's just mentioned the grey wolf of Yellowstone National Park. So we know that our answer is coming up shortly.
is a notable example. By 1926, gray wolves had been hunted to extinction in the 2 million acre region.
Okay, so they were hunted to extinction. So people were hunting them and killing them for whatever reason. I don't think they ate them, to the point that there were no more, literally no more grey wolves in the entire Yellowstone Park. All right. The next question is, what year were they reintroduced?
Then, in 1995, wildlife
Okay, 1995. Next, was the project successful?
authorities took 14 gray wolves from Canada and released them into Yellowstone. Over 15 years later, the gray wolves have survived and their numbers continue to grow. While they are still classified as endangered, this is a huge victory for animal reintroduction.
So victory is the same as success. So yes, you would write that yes, although they're still endangered, their numbers are slowly growing. How many of these reintroduction methods are being tried by City Park Zoo? A, B, C, or D?
Nowadays, City Park Zoo's mission is to find ways to improve our reintroduction methods. This includes experimenting with how to reduce human contact with the animals after they are born.
Okay, so he's just mentioned reintroducing human contact, so A.
We are also working to create more opportunities for the animals to hunt and form natural social groups while they are still in captivity to better prepare them after they are released in the wild.
Okay, and now you have C and D. So the answer here is A, B, and D.
At the same time, animal reintroduction projects must go hand in hand with environmental preservation. This requires a combined effort from biologists, ecologists, and wildlife management that also involves local communities. In a recent study of reintroduced animals, half of the deaths that resulted while they were in the wild were because of human contact from hunting and car accidents. This shows the importance.
Okay, so what is the reason 50% animals die? Human contact, hunting, and car accidents.
Of informing local communities and gaining their support for reintroduction projects before they are carried out.
Excellent. Okay. So next we're going to be talking about the oral presentation, and that's going to be, we'll do that when we're back in face-to-face classes. Before we do this, we're going to talk about what makes a good oral presentation. However, at the moment, I know that you are focusing on getting your research completed. Okay, so I want you to continue your research, and then I will be able to give you feedback on that. So that's all for today's class. If you have any questions, as you know, I'm always available on WeChat. And as usual, please get your homework through to me as soon as possible. Thank you, and I will see you next time.